Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Children is a masterpiece. We know that already. The man won a Nobel Prize on account of the book. But what I want to explore today is what can we learn as writers from Rushdie's works. If you are not a writer, don't worry, because I do believe that viewing the book from the perspective of the things you can learn from it actually enhances the experience of reading it, and it also affords us the possibility of looking at the book from a different angle, not so obvious at the most natural angle of just reviewing the book. I want to go straight to the point. If you want to know about the plot, you just check Wikipedia, I guess, or just read the book. Stop this video. If you haven't read the book, you should stop this video and start reading it, because it's definitely worth the time and the effort you will invest in reading it. And it's a great book, and you can learn many things from it. And we will discuss them now. But regardless of the things you can learn from it, just the experience of reading it is actually delightful. And on we start with lesson number 1, which is, I've called it the ticking bomb. As the great Alfred Hitchcock says, 2 people having dinner is the most boring thing ever. But if what you see is, in the movie, 2 people having dinner, but there is a ticking bomb behind the table, then suddenly becomes the most exciting experience ever. A ticking bomb is a device that every writer should know and use. If you are writing a book and the events of the story just happen, there is something very wrong with it. Even in the oldest of books, and I'm talking about Gilgamesh or the Iliad or the Odyssey, there is a ticking bomb device. The ticking bomb basically sets a deadline, establishes an urgency. The reader is now expecting things to move forward. In the Iliad, for example, which has a very simple plot, Achilles must return to the fight before the whole Greek army is lost and the entire war is rendered pointless. That is the urgency. Things must happen, and must happen now, because too much is at stake. Salman Rushdie basically uses the same device, but not in the most obvious way, although it's basically the same narrative tool. The book starts in the present, when the protagonist is narrating his life kind of retrospectively to his wife, which stands for the audience, sort of. So in a way, everything has already happened by the time the book starts. You know that whatever happens during the book, the protagonist made it through it all. So, if this is how you're going to start the book, what do you do as a writer to establish this sense of urgency? How do you establish the stakes when nothing really is at the stakes? Because you already know the end of the book, because you know right at the beginning that the protagonist is all right. Well, since the beginning, the book establishes different deadlines. As a narrator, Salim is always telling us what's coming, and usually what's coming is so fantastic, unreal, impossible, important, unlikely, dire and crazy that your sense of curiosity basically overcomes everything. Instead of asking yourself, will he make it, which is the most obvious question that you could ask yourself using this kind of narrative tool of ticking bomb, because you know the answer to it. In this case, you know already the answer, because you know that the protagonist is going to make it. But instead of, will he make it, what you ask yourself is, how on earth did he make it from point A to point B? It's a different technique. It's the same tool, though. By setting a crazy event as a point in time, the reader is now engaged, because they have to connect these 2 points that seem impossible to connect. We go now with lesson number 2, and this lesson is quite important because for reasons that we will establish later on. I've called lesson number 2, Magic Realism Done Right. Magic realism adds a very interesting aspect because it makes the impossible possible. The protagonist, the villain, and the world itself are full of magic. But magic realism has to be done right to achieve the desired effect. You can easily see this by the amount of mediocre copycats that write stories using this very tool for them only to write like bland, featureless, and forgettable stories. For magic realism, I would argue, for magic realism to work, like it worked for Salman Rushdie or Gabriel Garcia Marquez, you need to follow, I would say, two different rules. First rule is that magic follows rules. Midnight's Children is not Harry Potter because unlike Harry Potter, the story actually is meaningful and deep. This is reflected, first and foremost, in the use of the magical or supernatural elements. In the world of Midnight's Children, magic is a way to link to spheres, the individuals in the story and the collective. Salim and Shiva are India and Pakistan, two twin brothers, and their powers and all the Midnight's Children powers come from the actual historical event, the birth of India and Pakistan. Since Salim and Shiva were born exactly when the countries declared independence, they are the two most powerful characters. Children that were born near the exact moment of the Declaration of Independence have powers, but not as strong. The powers are also linked to the individuals by a physical feature. In the case of Salim is the nose, or in the case of Shiva is the knees. Notice also how the two physical features are not the most obvious. Big arms for a strong character is kind of lazy writing. Second, the magic enhances the political drama. The magical elements are there to link metaphorically these two spheres, the individual and the collective. Notice, it's a metaphor. Whatever happens to Salim is what happens to India and vice versa. The magic is justified. It's a necessary element of the narration. Without the magic, there is no metaphor. And with no metaphor, there is no larger point in the book. And the larger point of the book is precisely to talk about India and Pakistan, about colonialism, about the politics of these two countries. If you don't have anything to talk about in your book, if you don't have a theme, your magical realism won't save your story. One has to be ambitious and dare to cover a difficult, controversial subject, and then the magic will actually make sense as a tool to achieve the larger purpose of the text. So again, lesson number 2, the magic follows rules, and the second aspect of this second lesson is the magic realism is there to enhance a story. You need to have a good story, and then the magic, a magic that follows rules, will enhance your point. If you write, it's like using a special effects or CGI. If you don't have a good story, your CGI is worthless because it's wasted in a poor story. We finished this video with lesson number 3, which is evolution. One of the most remarkable features of the book is how much things change, how many things happen. The plot seems to carry you in one direction, but at every page there is a twist or there is a turn that shakes the reading in an unsuspecting way. Most people think of the characters, when they are writing, most people think of their characters in terms of the arc they complete by the end of the story. Usually these arcs, they have a beginning, they have an end, and there is this line, this way that connects these two dots. But Salman Rushdie has an endless imagination and think, if you know the beginning and the end already by the time the book starts, as we have told, because the narrator is obviously narrating retrospectively his entire lifetime, so you know that he made it. You have point A and you have already the end. So how on earth are you going to surprise the writer? Well, the only way to surprise the reader is to create a series of evolutions, arcs within arcs, spins, twists, and spins that transforms your character. Not once, not twice, not thrice, but again and again. Sometimes these iterations, with these iterations, the character receives new names. In the case of Salim, it becomes, for example, the Buddha, or it's called like it has like several other names that he adopts in the book that kind of reflect on this transformation that he's undergone. So what can we learn as writers from this, from Salman Rushdie? First of all, to never restrict yourself to just one arc. You need to have more imagination. You need to make your characters evolve in a way that's natural, logical, but also surprising. Create a context, a story that is going to transform your characters. Again, not once, not twice, but many times. That's it, my friends. I don't want to make this video any longer. These are the 3 lessons that we can learn from Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Children. Just to make a quick overview: constant evolution of the character, constant, endless evolution of the character. Second of all, do your magic realism right. Use your magic realism to enhance already a deep story, and make that magic follow certain rules so they have a logic from within. And as we say at the beginning, use this ticking bomb device. Make the reader be constantly in full... capture the attention span of the reader by setting these deadlines, by setting this urgency, by making the reader constantly think, how on earth is he going to reach point B